I find it very interesting that a character like Yuno from Black Clover can be so loved, yet so controversial at the same time. People say he's broken, overpowered, and just blatantly people calling him a Gary Stu or a Mary Sue, which basically are the same thing. Gary Stu is just the male version of the term. Mary Sue is basically a literary critique that was popularized within Star Trek fanfiction because of a character who basically was supplanted into the fanfiction and basically becoming a young captain of a ship with no experience and little training. She was better than any other captain before and was immediately well liked, basically was overpowered with basically Unexplained, and that basically brings in the Mary Sue Index. The Mary Sue Index is when you score a 4 out of 7 upon these 7 different traits: being overpowered, having an unexplained power level, being perfectly good, having no personality, being instantly liked, feeling like wish fulfillment, and the character doesn't get embarrassed or never fails. So that's basically why it was popularized in fanfiction, because you'd have a character that was overpowered, their power was not explained, they were perfectly good, had no personality, everybody liked them. It felt like wish fulfillment, and that the author, the creator of that character, was basically wishing that they were in the series and this was happening to them, and that the character never got embarrassed and never failed. So it is not good to have a character be a Mary Sue. Now, I would say if a character scores a 4 to 7, they're a Mary Sue, but it's kind of, I guess, still in the ballpark of that can still be a good character. Whereas once you get the 5 and beyond, yeah, you're a Mary Sue, just completely straightforward, and it's pretty much irredeemable and unlikable. Now, if a character only scores a 3 out of 7 or less, then basically they're not a Mary Sue, and it's just way better writing. It's kind of more objective that people are gonna like a non-Mary Sue over a Mary Sue. But it also is very hard to write a good character in a series that doesn't have any of these 7 traits. So just because a character gets a score on this does not mean they're a bad character. It's just that sometimes maybe the story isn't even finished yet, so you can't even properly gauge it, which is kind of like what happened with Yuno. Just want to let you guys know that I'm going to be streaming soon on my new, or not new channel, my other channel called Broku Gaming. I'll be streaming stuff like Call of Duty, Black Clover Quartet Nights, and a bunch of other games, probably games that are really relevant at the times. Probably going to stream Jedi Fallen Order, but yeah, guys, please go subscribe to Broku Gaming. It'll be linked below in the description. I'm going to be streaming a lot more consistently from now on, so that would be very much appreciated if you did go and subscribe if you want to see streams of mine. So, that being said, let's get into the video here. So, I'm going to be going through the Mary Sue Index, and we're going to see if Yuno is actually a Mary Sue, or if it's just mainly people outside the fandom who don't know enough about Black Clover throwing this critique upon him, or is it people who don't really pay attention to the series, or is it just blind Yuno hate? Now, we're going to start off with being overpowered, and it kind of ties in with the last point of the character not getting embarrassed or failing. No, Yuno is not overpowered. He's really not even that strong until the later part of the series. Yuno loses and struggles in the very first chapter, when Redshi, a rogue magic knight, binds him and chains him, and basically, Yuno would have had his Grimoire stolen if not for Asta. So from the very chapter, Yuno is shown that he's not overpowered. Yuno is very strong, but we have to remember that if you even look at the peak of his power that we have seen in the Elf arc, he's not even the strongest character. And for me, for you to be overpowered, you'd have to be at least in the top 3, but no, he wasn't in the top 3, and he was being amped multiple times. He had the Elven mana boost, and Lumiere gave him a light spell that was amping him in speed. So, despite getting 2 amps that were not of his own ability, he is still not in that top 3. So I would say he's not overpowered. And remember, that's just the end. If you go from the beginning of the series, he's not that strong. He's strong for his age, but he's not overpowered. So I'm going to give an X for that, a 0 in that category. So Yuno's off to a good start for not being a Mary Sue. Next category is an unexplained power level, and while it was sort of a mystery at first, it's really easy to see that it's very likely that the reincarnation spell likely created his body as a vessel for the son of Lictantetia's soul to go into that body. This is because it just so happens that hundreds of years later, a body is created that looks like who would be the son of Lictantetia, has the same magic type, has a 4-leaf clover grimoire, likely has a similar name, as a lot of the elven names have somewhat similar names to their human counterparts, and they exist on a similar wavelength. So it's seemingly that the reincarnation spell likely created vessels for 500 years later for the elves' souls to take over. So that kind of explains why Yuno has a high level of mana. But his power, even then, is not unexplained. From the age of 10 to 15, Yuno trained heavily every single day with his magic and his physical strength. Basically, by the time of the middle of the series, Yuno was the 10th strongest character in terms of just physical strength. So Yuno is not just a magic guy, he has high levels of physical strength as well. He also got the 4-leaf clover grimoire, which, yeah, I mean, it is kind of random, but Grandma does choose you, but it explains why he's so good. The 4th leaf is the leaf of luck. It expands how fast you can get at getting stronger, and how faster you can attain new spells. And then there's the Wind Spirit, which is explained. The Wind Spirit chooses him, he trains with the Wind Spirit. There was even a training arc, and if you guys don't remember, after Yuno gets his grimoire, he trains for 6 months for the exams. So Yuno has a lot of battle experience, a lot of training. He gets the Wind Spirit, he gets the 4-leaf clover grimoire. We know why he's this strong. He's basically, his power level is not unexplained at all. We know why Yuno is strong. He's a hard worker, he got the 4-leaf clover grimoire, he got the Wind Spirit, and his body was likely created to be because of the reincarnation spell. So another 0 here, a great start for Yuno. The next one is perfectly good. Yuno is very good, but this is kind of the issue here. He's not a main character. He's not the main character. He's a main character. He's not the main character. He's a side character, an important character, but we don't get to see a lot of these things because whenever he's in the series, he's mainly fighting. And so when it comes to perfectly good, well, it's debatable. It's kind of close enough. Now, if we could get confirmation that Yuno actually killed Ragus when the Lightning Diamond General Mage, if we get confirmation that he killed him instead of just holding back and stopping him, then I would probably say that he's not perfectly good. But if you add that in, then basically this is finally a point for Yuno here. So just 1 point out of 3, or out of a total of 7. Remember, a 4 out of 7 puts you in the Mary Sue category, but not terribly. And anything below that is, pretty good. Now, as for no personality, this one is kind of heavily levied at him, but it's not really true. Yuno just portrays himself to be the very quiet guy. Just because somebody is quiet does not mean that they don't have a personality. He is actually extremely focused on his own goals, as well as loving Asta. He wants to treat everybody he knows like family. And guys, remember, he almost betrayed his own squad to save Asta. That's pretty good character personality, that somebody he loves, Asta, who's like a brother to him, he's going to betray his own squad to save him if need be. Yuno hates to lose, and he's extremely competitive, as shown against Leopold in the training arc, when Leopold was trying to make the water too hot for Yuno, but Yuno was using his wind to cool him down to show that he was a tough guy. This shows his competitive nature, and again, the whole point is he wants to become the Wizard King. I'm going to give Yuno a pass on this one. He's not the main character. We simply just don't get to see enough of him to show his personality, as again, he's been fighting. That's when we see him, is he's usually fighting. But we can also add in that Yuno could barely contain his excitement for seeing the first Wizard King, and he was happy to be proven right about Asta when getting a grimoire. So I think that there's enough personality shown, despite being a side character, that he gets a 0 on this one, putting a score at a total of just 1 through the 4 total categories so far. Instantly liked. This is going to be a big fat no. People are jealous and hateful of Yuno because he's a commoner who got a 4th Clover Grimoire, and he's a commoner, or more rather a peasant, who got into the Golden Dawn, a Magic Knight squad that is filled with nobles and a royal. So yeah, the nobles and the royals especially dislike him, and was disliked by most of his squad mates for a long time. Now people say, sure, Charmy fell in love with Yuno. We do need to remember though that in this universe, Yuno is rated by Tabata to be one of the most handsome men in the series. Pair that with him helping Charmy, it makes sense for her to fall in love. So this is going to be another 0. He's not instantly liked. Klaus completely disliked him. Alec hates him, probably still hates him. A lot of the Golden Dawn look down upon him. The nobles and royals look down upon him. He's not instantly liked, so that's a 0. Feels like a wish fulfillment. This one's a bit hard to answer, since, like, again, Yuno isn't the main character. You know, getting a Wind Spirit and the 4-leaf Clover Grimoire does feel a bit like wish fulfillment. But losing battles or getting help to get very close victories almost takes the wish fulfillment away. So I'm going to give Yuno a half a point here, which puts him at just a 1.5 through the 6 total Mary Sue trait indexes. Now, the 7th point is one I kind of talked about already, is that the character is not getting embarrassed or failing. And Yuno actually does get embarrassed at one point when Asta kind of makes the false claim that, you know, he likes to only bathe with boys or whatever, and Yuno's like Asta, they're gonna take that in the wrong way, because, you know, if you look at that at face value, it almost makes it seem like the Asta is claiming that Yuno is gay. Yuno is like, no, I'm not. You're making it look the wrong way. And also, like I've already talked about, he does fail a lot. Against the Magic Knight, Revchi, he would actually basically lose. Against Mars, he was getting his shit stomped and Asta needed to save him. Against Licht, he actually needed Asta's help and still lost. And against the Devil, it took him, Asta, Yami, and many other characters to actually be able to take down the word Devil. So yes, he fails more than enough to not get a score here. Which brings me to the final tally, that Yuno scores just a 1.5 out of 7 on the Mary Sue index, which means that Yuno is not even close to being a Mary Sue or a Gary Stu, whatever you want to call it. So remember, being overpowered and having an unexplained power level, that is not a Mary Sue. A Mary Sue is these 7 things. There's a big aspect to it than just power, and the fact that in these 7 different categories, he only scores a 1.5, and might even score lower with more information provided, well, then yeah, he's not a Mary Sue. He's not even close. Even if you double his score to a 3 out of 7, he still wouldn't be a Mary Sue. So the fact that you know, it shows he's not even close, and he is a good character in Black Clover. It's just that you have to look at him as more of a side character, not the main character. The main character is Asta. The side character, or one of the other main characters is Yuno, but he's not the main character. So yeah, this is pretty much proof that Yuno is not a Mary Sue, or a Gary Stu, whatever you want to call it. It's very easy to think that if you haven't read much of the series, or if you kind of speed read, or if you just hear it from people who or basically Black Clover detractors or Yuno haters. But no, Yuno is not a Mary Sue if you follow the Mary Sue index. He's not overpowered. His power level is explained. While he is maybe perfectly good, more information will show that if Ragus has turned out to actually have been killed. He has personality. He's not instantly liked. He only half feels like wish fulfillment, and he gets embarrassed and fails several times throughout the course of the series. So yeah, a 1.5 out of 7. That's going to be a no from me if he's a Mary Sue. What are you guys' thoughts down below? Please do leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Hope you guys have an amazing day. Plus...